You wake up in a big room full of your alternate selves. There's one that went to a different high school than you. One that decided to choose a different job. One that lost a leg in an accident. And so on. And so on. Which version of you would you like to meet first and why? I'd like to meet the version of me that didn't drop out of college. Or maybe the me that stuck out the 20 years in the military. Both have a potential to be wildly different lives. That being said, I'm content with the path I've had so far and I wouldn't have it any other way. I'd want to talk to the ones who went to different high schools and colleges. I wonder how different they'd be given how different their experiences would have been. I would first like to meet the successful version on me first, then a version of me who failed in life. A confident version and one with no self-esteem. One who has found happiness in life and one who has not. And last, I'd like to meet a carbon copy of myself. I think this should put my life into perspective. The one that won the lottery. I'm a pretty generous person, so I think I'd give me a bit to pay down some debt. The one that wasn't born with multiple disabilities. I want to know how different my life could have been. Chick me and bang it out. The one that was raised by my dad just to see if growing up with my abusive mom made me funnier or more miserable. The one that married my friend a few years after graduation. My 21 at the time. FWB 18F at the time. Proposed to me but I said no because I just wanted to be with other girls. We eventually grew apart and I married someone else who I am doubting per second guessing about marrying now. Anyway, she grew up to become a doctor graduate of Harvard. She always made me laugh and smile and made me happy. She was super nice to me all of the time and I let her get away. Don't get me wrong, I'm not. Nor have I ever been in love with her, but I would have loved to see myself if I married her instead of my current wife. Well, this is a weird one. I guess I would go with one that's either very similar or very different. Like for the similar one, maybe I'd pick one that went to class in college and didn't drop out. See how he turned out. For the one that's different, EK. I guess the version of me that lived in the 1400s would be cool to meet. That would be weird. I think every single me in that room would like to kill themselves and the others. The one that was diagnosed ADHD 35 years earlier. I want to meet the female version of me. How good do I look as a woman? The one that's happy. I'd like to get the fuck out of there, thank you. The one that looks the most opposite of me. Thinner, in better shape, better hair, and smiling. Then ask him to teach me how. I'd like to meet the one who grew up with a strong support group and didn't end up with massive neuroses and low self-esteem this year. The one that was actually able to get herself together because lately I've had a short temper and constantly self-harm in one way or another. I want to know how she was able to overcome it. The one who went to university and got a job in that profession. The one that isn't scared to drive and holds a full license. And the one who has a social life. Ask them if they are happy with their life. What they aren't happy with. The version of me that actually succeeded in landing the ship, rather than stranding me on a primitive planet for ages. The one with all the same ambitions and goals as me, but who has actually achieved them this year. The version who wasn't raped. What would my outlook on life be if I got to experience the awkwardness of love and sex before I experienced the brutality? The one who defeated Voldemort. The one that went to a different high school. I went out with my high school boyfriend for 5 years. That relationship was the only event in my life for all that time. And his personality has rubbed off so much on me since then. I'm not sure how I could have been like if I hadn't met him this year. I also want to see the version of me if my mom never had cancer. Since the moment I found out, every otherwise major event in my life has seemed insignificant. I don't care much for anything now, as long as my mom is feeling okay. I've been so obsessed with this that I neglected my own mental and physical health for years. I've always wondered about the me that didn't move from Ohio to California at 13. And also the one who stayed in California instead of moving back to the Midwest a few years later. And there's the one who did hook up with that one girl freshman year of college. I wonder how he's doing. The one who refused to go with my mom and stayed with my grandma. I was a total different person and I would like to see where that me ends up. The me that went to med school instead of going down the route of scientific research. And the me that took a crazy gap year and traveled the world. Also the me that chose to go to a different college. Definitely the ones that did something I haven't. What if I went to a job instead of college? Asked that one girl out? Asked the same girl out in different situations? What if I had more fun and studied less? What if I'd done the opposite? I just love learning all the possibilities and having regrets because it means I had a choice. I like getting a lot of different views on the problem, even more so if it's people I really care about. The one that was never socially awkward. That's a lot of words for, what do you regret most in life? Quote. The ones that transitioned. One that choose a different school, career. I went to a culinary school and racked up about $100K in very high recession-era interest rate. After treading water for nearly 5 years in my dream job, I realized I had to learn a new skill and change careers or I'd never pay them off. Hell, I'd never retire, never afford any kind of life. You name it. 4 years as a software engineer, my life is utterly different. I owe about $40K now. Things are more manageable. I don't regret going to culinary school because I wouldn't have met my now husband who ultimately got me into software development in the first place, and he's worth so much more than that $100K. But I would be interested to see what a knitting_miscreant who doesn't live day-to-day simply surviving in a field she doesn't belong in would look like. The me who didn't have kids. I had my first right after I turned 20 and I've always wondered what I'd be doing if I hadn't had 2 kids. Wouldn't trade it for anything, of course, but it'd be cool to see. The successful one that manages to be productive and not procrastinate. Also the one that didn't go to college. Or at least not immediately. I'd be curious to see if he found a passion before deciding to go. None. I'm the me-est me. I'm all the me I'll ever need. I treat me so right, baby. The one who did everything it wanted to without giving a fuck. Note, I am a very anxious person and grew up trying so hard to please others. The only that's openly gay. I could use a BJ before I go to work. At the end of my tour of military duty in Germany, I broke up with my girlfriend, as I felt that her inability to speak any English at all would be too burdensome in the States. Alternate me would have extended my tour, married her, and emigrated to Germany at the end of my service obligation. I'd like to meet up with German me. Probably the one that came out really early on in life to see if it brought out a more pronounced feminine side to me. The one that is actually a good artist and writer. I'd like to meet the female version of me to see if I'd be any better looking as the opposite sex. I've always wondered. The version of me born with 10 fingers. I bet he's in worse shape but happier overall. There are several. First one is the one that married my ex so I can see if my crippling regret is justified. The second is the one who matched the other 2 lottery numbers the time the lottery was like $900 million. I got 4 numbers to see what I did with it. The third would be the most successful one to see if I'd be happy reaching my full potential. Probably the one that went to a different high school first. I dropped out of high school after junior year because I was treated so poorly by the administration of the private school I had attended my entire life. I'd be curious what would have happened to me if I had gone to public school starting in high school like so many of my friends did. The one of me that did what my parents wanted and went to medical school to become a doctor. I'll recognize him because he's put a bullet into his head or something. The non-virgin one. The one that died during childbirth so I can flex. The one that switched to a different sexual partner instead of staying with my current and only boyfriend. I want to meet the version of me that was never abused or raped or anything. A version of me that is physically and mentally healthy. The me who knew they had ADD as a child and had it treated. I want to know how my life would have been different. I would like to meet the version of myself that is more disciplined. Unfortunately, I've squandered some good opportunities and now I'm desperately trying to make my life better in ways that would have been a given if I had more discipline. What if I hadn't taken a break from school when I did? I could be into my career by now. What if I was better at saving, investing into myself, etc.? The one that did LARP fighting all throughout his 20s and early 30s. I want to know how good at it he got. The one who let the depression win. Very few people have a moment where they can say without a doubt that had they chosen door number 2 instead, they 100% know their life would be forever different. 10 person with the most money so I could have SOA advice and get a sugar daddy. The ambitious and motivated version. It would be cool to see what I could have became if I had put forth any serious effort into something. The one that isn't gay. I wanted to know if I would have a better relationship with the rest of my extended family. The one that married his college girlfriend. I debated long and hard about that one. The one that didn't have a child. I love my son to death. But being 23 with a 5-year-old and a family I hate. But I'm still forced to be around sucks. My family didn't love me. But they maintained interest once they caught wind my son was being born. And now I need these people because I can't do this on my own. I want to know what life would have been like had I have not had a child. Cut ties with my parents when I was kicked out at 18. And moved forward with my life. But maybe it's best that I don't know. One day things will get better. But right now, I still wonder. And that's okay, right? One where my biological father won custody. The one with a Wii and the one with an Avenue TV.